With the last international break of the season now over, today we thought it would be a good idea to do some reflecting. So Toby and I have been ranking every Premier League club's most expensive transfer of the season, and it's going to be a joint list. We're going to rank them from 1 to 20, best to worst, and we're going to cause, I think, a little bit of controversy here today, Toby. How did you find it? Did you have any method when you went about trying to make your list?
Yeah, I feel like looking at my list, it's you. There could be so many changes, and I think there's going to be a lot of difference maybe in our list. I found this super hard. I think there was maybe a few standouts and a few maybe strugglers, and I think when we get to the middle of the pack, that's going to be fun to try and shuffle those around. But yeah, in terms of how I did, I think price of the signing, the impact that they have had so far, maybe the impact that they could have in the future based on their previous performances at other clubs, and how they fit into the side and the squad that they've joined as well, I think is an important thing too. So yeah, lots of different variables I think to take, and it'll be interesting to see maybe how important we see each of those variables and how much impact they've each had on our list as well, which could cause some differences. So yeah, it'll be an interesting one. How did you find it?
I found it awful. I think because we're ranking them from 1 to 20, if this was a tier list, then you'd have a couple which are just middle of the pack, not a hit, not a flop, they'd just be fine. But I think you got to weigh that in with also expectations of when they were signed, what they were brought in to do, the opportunity cost of if the club didn't sign that player, what they could have done in an ideal world. I think there is a lot to take into account, and I think this can be very difficult. But most importantly, they're not just based on this season. We're ranking these signings based on how we think they're going to do for the club in general throughout their career. So we're going to use the season as evidence to help us base our arguments, but it's not going to be the be all and end all. So with that being said, let's get started. And in 20th place, the unfortunate player who has to go into this position, for me, I've got down Oliver Skip for Leicester City. Signed for a fee that could be worth up to £25 million, played 20 times in all competitions, 16 in the league, but has only started 7 of those. And I think the reason why I've got him so far down is, like I said just now, the opportunity cost. Leicester City desperately needed to sign some forward players if they had any chance of staying in the Premier League. They signed Skip, who I think is a decent player, but I think he was just the wrong player for way too high than they should have brought him for in terms of a fee. And I think it just hasn't worked out, especially when you've got Ndidi, Samare. You've also got some other players you can play in. Chowdhury when he was there before he left. You've also got Winks already at the club. I just felt like he was the wrong signing. They needed to sign a striker, and they spent way too much money on him. We'll probably do okay in the championship next season, but for me, considering there are a lot of good players, for me, I had Oliver Skip in 20th. Who did you have in 20th, Toby? Do you agree?
Well, I think you summed up really well there that he'll probably do pretty well in the Championship next season. And maybe if Leicester had signed him either next season or the season before this one for maybe half the price, we'd say, you know what, that's a pretty good signing. I think that's about the level. But I think with Leicester trying to stay up this year and Skip for the amount of money that he was has not been a hit at all. I had him in my list in 19th place. And to be honest, I'm quite happy for him to be in either of those bottom two positions. Shall I say my 20th and we can see maybe where things are shaping up as we go before we put a definite position on Skip?
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Who did you have in 20th place?
Yeah, in my 20th, it is a little bit harsh, this one, and it is for Brentford and it is Igor Thiago. Obviously made very, very minimal appearances, been hit by a pretty severe injury this season. A decent goal scoring record before he signed for Brentford. Maybe not sort of the most prolific or hasn't been around for too long. I just think with this one, for 33 million euros, the fact that Johan Wissa is absolutely flying in the league, did Brentford need to go out and spend this much money on a striker when they already had Wissa and Mbomo banging in the goals anyway? I really don't think so. And I think maybe now that this season it has been realised with the loss of Tony, could understand them trying to get maybe another forward in there. I just really don't feel like they need him, and we've seen that this season.
I can understand why you put Thiago in 20th, but I think if it was based on the season, absolutely, completely agree with you. I think he's only played 4 matches in all competitions. I think he's only started one, and then he got substituted off after re-injuring his knee, which is what kept him out in the first place in the first part of the season. But based on where the signing is as a whole, he scored a lot of goals for Club Brugge in Belgium. I think he's going to be a good player. He's still only 23. And the thing is, I trust Thomas Frank and Brentford if they sign a player to get it right. What I was saying about maybe Mikael Damsgaard and a lot of other people were saying before the season started was, I haven't really seen him. What's happened to him? He had a great Euros a couple tournaments ago. What happened to him now? And then he's now got himself into the team. He's now playing phenomenally well, arguably one of the most underrated players in the league. I think just because Igor Thiago has had a bad start to his career at Brentford, I don't think that's the end of the world for him personally. So it's a difficult one. Do you think you'd be happy to put Oliver Skip in 20th, and then we'll talk about Thiago's potentially being 19th?
Yeah, I'm happy to go for Skip in 20th, and I think with the thing is just with me, Vigo Thiago, it just feels like he's going to be sold in like I think even next season when he's fit, he's not going to replace Wissa and Wissa moves, and I could see Brentford selling him for like 15 million to like the Bundesliga or something like that, and we won't hear of him in the Prem much more. But yeah, let's put Skip in 19th and leave Thiago for now maybe, and see where he ends up on your list eventually.
Okay, because I actually had, I'll let you know, I had Igor Thiago in 18th. I do really like him. I think he's going to be good. But I do understand the injury so far. If I haven't put him, who knows what that could mean for him in the future. And I do agree with you, he could be sold. So I had him in 18th. The player I had in 19th was Taylor Howard-Bellis of Southampton.
Whoa.
Signed, yeah, I know. But hear me out, right? Obviously, we had to go for him over Aaron Ramsdale because the initial fee paid for Taylor Howard-Bellis was £20 million because he was on loan to Southampton. They got promoted when they beat Leeds in the Championship player final, which meant that the 20 million versus Ramsdale, eventually 25, but initial 18. So that's why it's Taylor Howard-Bellis for Southampton. But the thing is, a bit like Skip, maybe Southampton were doomed from the start, similar to Leicester. However, I do think that in terms of what they needed this season, they needed probably a ball playing centre back, which they have, yes, but someone who could also defend very well. And I think the combination hasn't quite worked. And maybe he's a player who would look fantastic not playing for Southampton, as I think probably Aaron Ramsdale would. I think Sugawara. I think Carl Walker Peters. I think Fernandez, who they have, is going to be really good. But I think for what Southampton needed, he wasn't the right centre back. They will probably sell him on for more than the £20 million they bought him for, and he'll probably go on to have a really good career. I mean, England under 21s, I think he's going to be fantastic. He's already had one cap for England, but I just think the fact that he's made 4 errors leading to a goal this season shows that defensively he hasn't been quite as good as Southampton needed to be. Only Robert Sanchez and Arnold Muric of Ipswich have made more errors leading to a goal than Taylor Howard-Bellis, and he's defender, not a goalkeeper. I just think he was the wrong type of defender that they needed. In Championship, he was great, but I think for the Premier League, it wasn't the right move, but they were forced to sign him, so I don't think that's his fault. But again, he might have been doomed for Southampton in general, just like maybe Leicester City were with Oliver Skip. I'm guessing by reaction, you don't have him in 19th place.
Yeah, no, I have him 14th actually. I think I completely understand what you mean that maybe it was what Southampton needed, but I think what they wanted at the time, like you said, forced to sign him. I think they absolutely snatched at Man City to be and probably loving that they were able to get him for 20 million. I think it's a really, really good signing. I think it's a great investment. I think he will be in the Prem next season when Southampton go down. I think a club will pick him up. I think he's going to be very valuable in a few years' time. I really, really like him in terms of a ball-playing centre-back. And that's exactly what Southampton wanted under Russell Martin. They wanted to try and play that football. It didn't work necessarily, but I really don't think that's Howard-Bellis' fault, essentially. I understand where you're coming from, and I just think it's a good investment, even more than that, than maybe the right player at the right time, I suppose.
I tell you what, let's put Igor Thiago at 19th. I think he will have a very good career. Perhaps it won't be at Brentford, who knows? But let's put him in 19th. And you talk to me about who you have in 18th place if it's not Taylor Howard-Bellis.
Yeah, my 18th was Eddie Nketiah. I was glad to see Nketiah go in terms of, as an Arsenal fan, we got a decent bit of money for him. And I think it was a good opportunity for him to go to a club sort of in that realm of Palace, sort of mid-table, to get some minutes and play. But then looking back at the time, I don't know why Crystal Palace have spent that much money on him when they've got such a standout forward for them in terms of Jean-Philippe Mateta, and Nketiah has not been getting a sniff. He will not be getting a sniff whilst Mateta is at the club. He doesn't fit into Glasner's system in playing in one of those two positions behind Mateta. And I think ultimately it's going to be 30 million wasted from Crystal Palace. I think I think they saw Nketiah was on the market, thought this is a good top six player, somebody who's been in and around a top six side. Let's snap him up before somebody else does. And they just really don't need him, and he would have been a much, much better suit, I think, for a different club, really.
I tell you what, I also have Eddie Nketiah in 18th place. I agree with you. I think that right player, wrong club, and even if Jean-Philippe Mateta, who I think only has 18 months, I want to say, in his contract, or maybe a bit 1 year more than that, I don't see Eddie Nketiah being a replacement. I get what you mean. Someone who's a striker, Crystal Palace needs goal scoring reinforcements. He is someone who was already playing for a London club, go to another London club. It just, everything seemed to line up, except for the system and how he fit into that team. I will agree with you to go Eddie Nketiah in 18th place. However, I am going to have to push you out on Taylor Harwood-Bellis, because I'm not putting him much higher than that, I'll be honest.
Ooh.
Negotiate with me.
Well, let's see. 17th sounds pretty harsh. In my 17th, I can't believe I don't think I could put Bellis below this player, which is Jaden Philogene from Ipswich, signed for 23 million euros from Aston Villa. I just think it was a really not a silly signing, because that's pretty harsh on Ipswich. I just think they are probably going to be going down next year. Again, maybe like Oliver Skip, I think he'd be a great player in the Championship. Just too much money spent, I think, at the wrong time. Not the sort of player who's going to be keeping them up necessarily. Definitely not as good in my eyes as someone like Amari Hutchinson, who I think was a great signing. Again, just not the right quality that I think Ipswich need. And I think they're really overspent in that sense.
I do agree with you. I think Philogene is my 16th or 7th. No, I'm trying to think. I've really lost track. I think he was my 17th player. Sorry, no. He was my 16th. I would want Taylor Harwood-Bellis below him. I think the reason why for me is because I have Philogene so down there. I agree with you. Is because of the fact that when he was signed from Aston Villa, Ipswich weren't in the relegation zone at that point. They were in 17th place. Wolves were in 18th, so they had a chance of staying up in the Premier League. And had he worked out, had he scored some goals, got some assists, got some attacking returns, then who knows? Like, maybe Ipswich would be, fine right now, and maybe it would be Wolves going down, or maybe it would be a lot closer than it is. I do think, though, that he is a good signing for them going next season, and I think that is my slight issue with the signing. But similar to someone like an Oliver Skip, maybe that's not necessarily his problem. But I just think, he's got 12 goals and 6 assists for Hull City last season in the Championship. I think he's a good player who'll probably improve on that number next season, considering the squad that Ipswich have. It's one of the best they have. But for being a club record signing, I agree. I would have him down the list. So I want him in 16th. I will agree with you to put Jaden Philogene in 17th, but Taylor Harwood-Bellis goes no further. It feels like I hate him. I don't hate him, but
now I'm happy to drop Harwood-Bellis down to 16th. That's still 2 positions, which I think I'm happy to go for. I do think he should be above Philogene, because I think Harwood-Bellis at least has some resellability for if they go down. They've got that sort of cushion. Whereas I think Philogene, I don't think he's quite a Premier League player yet, and that is who is going to be looking to sign if Ipswich wanted to make some money back on that. So, yeah, should we go Philogene 17th? Harwood-Bellis, I will concede for you there and put him 16th, definitely. I think that's fair.
Yeah, okay, I'm happy with that. I don't hate Harwood-Bellis, I just don't think he's been that good at signing for what Southampton need. Okay, in 15th place, I have gone for my boy, Federico Chiesa. I think this is one where it's low risk, low reward, so really he can't be right at the bottom, because the maximum expectation you're really hoping from him was the fact that he was going to be the backup to Mo Salah or backup to one of the forward areas, hopefully get him fit. He has been fit for the large majority of the second half of the season, but he just hasn't been getting the minutes. 11 matches he's played in all competitions, 2 goals and 2 assists, which has been alright. However, at the start of the season, he didn't really play. He missed 14 games to a muscle injury and was out for 73 days. Didn't really need him. And I don't think his lack of minutes is really down to him at the moment. I think it's the fact that he's just not being trusted by Arne Slot. So therefore, because it's low risk, low reward, whereas compared to some of the other players below, I mean, Thiago was a club record signing. And Eddie Nketiah was the Crystal Palace's second highest ever signing. Philogene is Ipswich's highest ever signing. I think for Liverpool, for the amount of money that they have available to them, the 12.5 million for a player who's in the last of his contract, if you get him fit, get him firing, it's not the worst transfer in the world. It's a punt, and you sell them on for arguably more than what you bought him for. So for me, I had Federico Chiesa in 15th. Who did you have, Toby?
Yeah, I had him in 15th as well. Again, like you said, low risk, and I think it was a good chance that he was going to play well. And I think in moments you can still really see that quality in Chiesa. Those little touches that he does when he gets a bit of pace and a bit of dribbling going, he does look really, really sharp still at times. And I think whether that could be enough for him to maybe get some more minutes into the Liverpool team next season, I'm not too sure. Or whether he is sold on. I think for a profit, I could see him going back to Italy in a year or two if maybe Slot still doesn't give him too many minutes. And I think you'd certainly be getting more than 12 million euros for him. Could potentially even go higher in terms of that because of how cheap the signing was and how young Chiesa still is. But I think just because of the lack of trust from the team in terms of minutes, yeah, I think 15th is fair. I do have one player lower still for me to name other than Chiesa, but I think if we both got him in 15th, we should just both whack him straight in there.
Okay, that makes sense. Who was the one player that we've missed that you've got lower than him then?
It was O'Brien from Everton. A very sort of middle of the pack signing. I've got him down as 16th. Seems like a good player. Probably more so one for the future. He is still pretty young. But I think in terms of him fitting into that side now, hasn't had too many minutes. He's been playing fullback for a few games recently. To be honest, it was nothing against him. I don't really know too much about him, and it was just a few of the other names I think were stronger signings than him, to be honest.
I am going through my list, and if you've got him that low, I've got him a couple of places higher than 14th. I'll be honest with you, mate. I think for the fact that he's come in, and obviously he wasn't trusted under Sean Dyche, so he didn't really play him. Under David Moyes, I think in the 10 matches he's managed in the Premier League, he came off the bench in the first one against Aston Villa, which was a 1-0 loss at home. And then ever since then, he started all the other 9 Premier League games. And I think he's a really talented player, and I think that he is fantastic. And I think for what Everton need, they needed probably a backup centre-back to Tarkowski and Branthwaite, especially if Branthwaite's going to leave. Now you get to the point where he's the best right-back they have at the club. If you buy a right-back in the summer, arguably, he has to play. And if Branthwaite goes, it's not even the end of the world, although you probably want to keep him if you're an Everton fan. I think he's phenomenal. And I think that considering his age as well, which is only 23, for the fact that it's a £23 million deal in general for a player who can play centre-back and right-back, Premier League quality, and can improve and looks like he can improve, I had him a bit higher. So we're trying to argue now over 14th place. So you would have Jake O'Brien there, would you?
Yeah, and again, it's not because I think he's a bad signing. I just think the other names on the list are better signings, to be honest.
Right. Okay, I guess I have to reveal to you who I have in 14th place then, don't I?
Yeah, come on, let's hear it.
So in 14th, I had Wolverhampton Wanderers Andre, the Brazilian who they signed from Fulham AZ. I think that he's a very good player. It's going to be a deal worth about £21 million in total. He's already played 27 times in all competitions, 23 starts. He had a difficult start to the season, and I think he also, not just him, Wolverhampton Wanderers in general, had a very difficult start to the season, but I think in recent weeks and months, he's really come to his own. That system suits him perfectly, the 3-4-3. He's on the left of it, with João Gomez on the right of it. That is a very dynamic, all-action, very technically good and on-the-ball midfield. And I think that him as a signing for the 21 million pounds in total they pay for him, they could easily double that. He was linked with the likes of Liverpool, and I thought, you know what, maybe seeing how he's played in recent weeks, he could arguably do that. For me, I had him down in 14th. Where did you have Andre?
We've got the disagreements are brewing, mate, because I had him way high. I had him up in 7th. I think he is at times phenomenal. I think at the moment he's one of my favourite players to watch in the Prem, especially in terms of a central midfielder. I think he can do almost anything. He's so technically gifted. He's really, really solid defensively. He puts in the hard work, and I'm pretty sure he's a Brazil international as well. For 20 million euros as well, I think is an absolute bargain. Whether he stays around for Wolves long term, I'm not too sure, but the quality that he brings at the moment is fantastic, and I think if he carries on, he's going to be sort of that almost Mateus Cunha level figure at Wolves in terms of how talented he is and how many other top clubs are sniffing around for him as well. I was so surprised when Wolves picked him up and to see how good he was when he was playing. Yeah, so I've got him up in 7th, and to be honest, I was almost considering having him even a little bit higher than that. I really, really rate him.
Okay, so I don't even know how we move on from here.
Yeah, anyway, this just makes it even more confusing.
Yeah. Okay, so
We'll have to find somewhere in the middle maybe for both of them.
I had Jacob Bryan in 11th.
Okay.
So who do you have in 13th then?
Okay, so slowly working up the list. This is going to seem like a really harsh one, but I have Pedro Neto in 13th at the moment. I think he is a fantastic player on his day, and I think when he was at Wolves, I really, really liked how he played. I just don't think Chelsea was the right move, and it's at the wrong time as well. I think Chelsea have such a big young squad, and I don't think Neto's really been given a chance to sign in that squad, and I'm not sure if he ever is going to be able to, unfortunately, playing out on that right wing. He's got decent minutes, especially with Palmer moving into the number 10, and he has played a bit more. I just don't feel like it's the right environment or the right play style. It's just something does not, to me personally, just does not feel like that is a good match at all. And I was really jealous when Chelsea did sign him. I really wanted him to go to Arsenal, to be honest, but I don't know what it is. It just doesn't feel right. And I think maybe 60 million euros for somebody who's not really standing out on that side. Yeah, I had him pretty low.
Okay, I have him in my top 10. I don't think we've seen the best of him. However, I think his versatility has come in really useful. He's played right wing 15 times, left wing 12 times. He's played in the cam 5 times, and he's played as like a striker like 6 times. I think he's played so well considering the fact that he's in and out of the side. He's not always starting all the time, and still got 5 goals and 7 assists. I mean, at the moment he's starting off front. He's clearly not a striker for Chelsea, but he's being asked to play there. And I think if it was wasn't for Chelsea, if he was at any other club, I think they would love to have him. I've got him higher up. Thing is, it's because I think the thing is with Jacob Bryan, his transfer fee is so low that I'm like, that could double. Yeah, I mean, it probably won't. He might end up becoming a bit of a Tarkovsky and just staying at Everton for the duration of his majority of his career.
Neto is certainly one I wouldn't mind moving higher, to be honest. I think I maybe this season bias has pushed him down a little bit for me, so I'd be happy to shift him up a few.
So you have him in 13th, am I right?
Yes, yeah.
I have him in 8th. I'm sure we can come to like somewhere near 10th. We need to sort out this 14th place, if we're honest, because I think you and I have Andre, who I do like, and you have Jacob Bryan, who I'm sure you like, just quite in different places.
Is there anyone else? Who is your next lowest rated player? And then maybe once we've got that, we might be able to shuffle things.
So I've got Andre in 14th.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god. Have I? So in 13th place I have. See, I know this is gonna be awful. I've got Lenny Euro in 13th place.
Oh my, that's harsh, man. That is harsh.
Oh well, see, I think you putting. I don't know. Right. Lenny Euro 13th. I don't even want to go into it if we're not good, if it's going to be way off where you.
It's not a million miles off. I've got him in 8th.
Oh, I feel like that's too many places. I'm trying to find a name. I'm going through it. I'm trying to find a name that I think we'll agree on, but I'm not sure at this point if we will agree on a name. where have you got? Where have you? I'm trying to think of what. I'm struggling here.
How about
Amadou and Nana?
I would have skipped past that. I would say, how about Jorginho Rutter? Where have you got him?
I don't think we can talk about Rutter.
Oh my god! I list like complete opposites. This is crazy.
This is why I was saying to you at the beginning, I was like, maybe we should just do it based on this season, maybe that would be better, because we obviously using this season as evidence, but we're also how we think individually where the careers will go are going to be so different. Obviously, if you have a different, like we've probably watched two different sets of Brighton games this season, so our opinions might be different, but I think Rutter's going to be really, really good. Right. So hang on. Just go. Tell me your list. 14th, 13th, and 12th for me, mate, and I'll tell you mine.
Well, because my 14th is done, so my 16th was O'Brien, but we'll say he's 14th in terms of this. I then had Neto, Rutter, and then I had Calafiori. That was my next four in a row. And again, like like you said, I really rate Rutter. I think he's a good player. The only reason I had him maybe this low is I think the fee was quite high, 46 million euros. I think was a lot, and I'm not quite sure exactly where he fits into this Brighton side and where he fits into sort of a modern football system. He's a really, really strange player. I'm just not too convinced about it, especially with a lot of the players. I think João Pedro as well is a pretty similar player to him, so I just wasn't too sure where he fit in. And then I had Calafiori above that as my next lowest rated player.
Okay, so I'll tell you what, I've got Calafiori in 12th. So I've got Andre for Wolves in my 14th, and then I've got Yoro in 13th, and I've got Calafiori in 12th. It feels a bit low to put in 14th, I'll be honest. But I think the reason why I've got him so low is he has had injury issues this season, which have not helped him whatsoever. But he still managed to play 26 times in all competitions. I think his very notable moment was the equalising goal to make it 1-1 in the game against Manchester City in the Etihad. He's had 4 separate absences due to injury, missing 61 days, and at the time of recording, he got injured in his last game for Italy as well against Germany, and also it seems like Miles Lewis has taken his place. So, I mean, you're the Arsenal fan. You definitely watched him more than me. Is 14th too low on this list?
I think the Lewis Skelly is a massive factor. Come out of nowhere, and to be honest, I think he should be our first choice left back. He has been so good. And Calafiori, I think when he was signed, I didn't necessarily see him maybe as a left back. I think I did see him more as a replacement, sort of a backup in terms of a left-sided centre back. I think he's actually better as a left-sided centre back. It was more how he was suited, I think, in terms of Bologna, in terms of sort of darting forward from centre back. I think is where he really impressed. Initially, I was thinking this season it was going to be Timber with Zinchenko as sort of the left back options, and maybe Calafiori if needed. I don't think 14th is too harsh. And I would probably go Calafiori or O'Brien as 14th. Maybe Calafiori 14th, O'Brien 13th. Would you be okay with that?
I think we need to move on. So I'll be honest. I will take Calafiori in 14th, and then we'll put O'Brien in 13th. Mm-hmm. I only had him in 11th, so I think, considering his lack of minutes this season, considering it's only been 16. I am more than happy just because they're the same age actually. O'Brien and they're the same. No, Ricardo Calafiori is 1 year younger.
Yeah.
But
similar age.
Yeah, I think just because Arsenal play so many games in the season because of cup competitions, that obviously he will still get minutes and he still be decent in squad rotation. But yeah, let's put Calafiori 13th. Let's put O'Brien 13th. Obviously, I had Lenny Yoro in 13th, so you're going to have to tell me, as we're now going to be discussing 12th place, who's your next player? Because I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't think I could put Euro that low. I just think his age and literally every single big club in Europe was sniffing for him. I think he will become an exceptional player. I had Neto, Rutter, and then my next lowest rating in 10th place was Dominic Solanke.
I tell you what, I can do Dominic Solanke in 12th, um, because I agree with you on that. I think that he could have had a better season. Obviously, injuries haven't helped. Signed for 65 million in total. That is pricey. But he has still got 11 goals and 8 assists in all competitions. So it does feel harsh.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of money spent as well. I'm not sure how much more he has to give, if you know what I mean. I think he is a very good player. I don't think he'll ever be a great player, unfortunately. And I think when you're spending up of that 65 million euros, I think you really kind of do need a great player, and maybe somebody who brings just a little bit more. You know, they need a little bit more magic in them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do know what you mean. I tell you what I'll do. I've been thinking while I've been talking. Let's put Pedro Neto 12th because of the fact that Chelsea are a basket case. I mean, I think they've signed some really fantastic players, but I know for a fact that Dominic Solanke is going to be there next season. I know for a fact that he will end the season well. He will have a good season next season. Whereas Pedro Neto, while I think he's had a very good season considering the circumstances, the different positions he's had to play, the different other players he's had to accommodate, being in and out of the side, I think there is definitely more of a guarantee with Solanke than it is with Neto, even though I think he's a very good player. So should we put Neto 12th, Solanke 11th?
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy with that. I think that's fair. It's so harsh on some of these players because I think these players who are sort of 14th and above are not like, if they were in a tier, like obviously in basic rankings, they'd be sort of like mid-bad. They are not that at all. I think all of these are still good signings. It's just others have been better, is all it is, I think. It's so close. It's so close between a lot of them, innit?
Yeah, it absolutely is. In 10th then, making the top 10 finally, um, I might have to push you on Leniara just because it was where I had it much lower down initially. But I think for the fee, I'm trying to do the numbers, £52.2 million plus a further 6.7 in potential add-ons, which makes it 58.9 million in total. Quick maths. 21 times he's played in all competitions, just 12 starts, missed 26 games this season due to injury, 21 to an ankle injury, 4 to a foot injury, and 1 due to illness. And my last bullet point on him is very young, very old, lots of potential, don't write him off, but I did have him lower. And this is partly, I think, the clubs the players go to matters. And I think, is the environment of Man United at Old Trafford going to be the best for him to thrive? We've seen, worse players, not worse players, better players go and be made to look worse than they actually are, and when they leave they look better. I'm not sure. So I think that played a massive factor in me having him lower down. Is it still too low for you?
No, I think that's a good point. And you saying that has reminded me of Matthijs de Ligt's transfer to Juventus. It was very, very similar. A lot of players saying how exceptional he is at such a young age. But if it just doesn't fit and it doesn't click initially, it could just peter out and become a bit stale. So I had him in 8th, so 10th is certainly not too much of a drop-off for me. I'm happy to put him there.
Okay, let's put him in 10th. And I would also say the fact that Aidan Heaven has come in, and although he has, come through the ranks at Arsenal at an English team, so he knows English football a bit better, the fact that he's come in, looked better straight away considering they only paid £1 million for him. Yes, he was between clubs, but the optics of that doesn't look great. But if Lenior was to go on and become a world beater, I wouldn't be surprised. It's just based on this stupid listing of players, which I now wish we didn't even do. But Lenior goes into 10th. So talk to me, Toby. Who do you want in 9th?
So I had Rutter still in 12th, still to place. I can't quite remember where you had him, but I would probably push for him to be 9th, although my 9th in my actual list, just below Leniora, was Max Kilman, who I think came in with a big fee and a few question marks, 47.5 million euros. But I think he's been really, really good, and I think he was fantastic at Wolves before as well. A really good player, really good age profile as well at 27. not too young to sort of be raw and sort of have to be petered into the team. I think he's going to be a really good player for West Ham for a number of seasons, and I think somebody who could be there for a while as well. Really, really like the signing, solid, and yeah, I think around 8th or 9th would be pretty fair for him.
Okay, are you? See, I agree with you on Max Kilman being in and around there, not necessarily in terms of position, because how could a player be, considering the fact that he's a defender playing for a side who are only 16th in the league at the moment, I think it is, and the fact they've signed him for £40 million. However, he's 27. He's got a 7-year contract. I think that he started every single game for West Ham in the league this season. I think he's been one of their best players, if not even the player of the season, which is mental to say. Just go to show what a bad first half of the season the West Ham had under Lopetegui. But I think he's very comfortable on the ball. I think he's good in the air. I think he's a little bit slow, but I think that helps considering the fact that Graham Potter's playing 3 at the back at the moment. He's got Todibo on one side and he's got Cresswell, who's traditionally a fullback, on the other to help him out with that. I think he's perfect. I think for 7 years, I think I could see Kilman playing that many years for West Ham. I would have him a bit higher. The one I would like to pitch to you to have in 9th, I'm going to say, is Amadou Onana of Aston Villa. And again, it's so hard because, yes, he's 23, but for a reported club record fee of £50 million, he's played 22 matches in all competitions, got 4 goals, looked like a real aero threat at the beginning of the season. But injuries have hampered him a little bit. He's missed 13 games for club and country this season. Hasn't played since the 1st of February, but was on the bench for Villa's last game against Club Brugge at home in the Champions League before the international break. But the big thing is, considering the other midfield options that Aston Villa have, Kamara, Tielemans, Barkley, McGinn, yes, obviously he started the season there. I'm now looking at it like, where does he break into this team and how? If it isn't for squad rotation, is he going to displace Kamara and Tielemans? Based on the season, I think it's going to be very tough.
That's a really... I had on in 6th. I think when we look back at the start of the season, how well he was playing, I think when we look back at how he was at Everton, and even then sometimes when he wasn't starting, he still really stood out in that side. I think somebody who as bigger clubs were after as well, the way he carries the ball, I think he's very, very well-rounded. He does lots of things very well. I think that could be a bit harsh to have. I had him in 6th.
Toby, where have you put Andre?
I had Andre in 7th.
We haven't written him down yet, have we?
Yeah, but I don't want to put him in 9th. I'm even looking at this thinking that 7th feels harsh for Andre. I think he's so good, man. He's so good.
I just going through the mentions, like, we didn't even write down Andre, and I was like, I didn't where I have him 14th. I think we might.
Where did you have Rutter again?
I don't want to say, he's quite considerably further up my list. I think, right. I mean, yes, signed for a club record fee of 40 million, right? But 33 games in all competitions, 8 goals, 5 assists in the league. That's 5 goals and 3 assists. Joined 4th for the most goals this season in the league for Brighton. Joined 3rd for the most assists in the league this season with Minter and Matoma. He's again a bit like Neto. I think his versatility has hampered him because people are starting to see him as different types of players. But 10 games as a striker, 8 on the right wing, 15 as the second striker / attacking midfielder, defends from the front excellently. He's still only 22. And I think if Brighton were to lose João Pedro, I think they'd be fine because they got Rutter. If Rutter was to play up front instead of Welbeck, absolutely fine. Could play on the right when Minter's out injured. I really, really, really like Jorginho Rutter, and I think the fee is what's pulling him down. But again, I mean, Brighton, Baleba, maybe Van Hecke, Minter, but I think he's up there in terms of sellable assets that's going to go for a big fee, and a side's going to pay. If the clubs are looking at João Pedro, I love him, but take away his penalties, and you're looking at him and Rutter as exactly the same. Maybe Rutter even better. Maybe that's controversial, I don't know. But I would be pushing now 9th to put Andre in here, I'll be honest.
Can we go Kilman at least in 9th?
If you shake my hand and go, we're putting Andre in 8th.
Go on then. Yeah, go on then.
Oh jeez. Okay, so ninth. Who do we just say? Who's ninth? Andre. That's it. Right. Sorry.
Yeah, ninth Kilman, eighth Andre, and then should we go seventh Onana?
Oh no. Sorry. Other way around. Andre ninth, Kilman eighth.
Or did Andre ninth, Kilman eighth?
That's what I was bargaining for. I'll be honest, my head's scrambled. I don't know what's going on.
Go on then. Let's just do it. Let's do it. I've had a few gimmies from you. We'll go Andre ninth, Kilman 8, Onana 7.
Yeah, I would like Onana 7.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
I will then concede Rutter 6th.
Yeah, that sounds fair to me. I've got him down in 12th, and if you've got him quite high, maybe that's a middle ground. And yeah, I'm happy to pull him up. I think you've done a good argument for, because I really like Rutter. It's just more maybe the fit. I wasn't sure. So yeah, on his day, I think he is quality.
Okay, and then I've got to think of who I've got left. Who have you got in 5th while I try and figure out who I have left?
I might just read out. Mine's my top 5 is left at the moment. I might just go through 5 to 1 just to get it pull off the band.
No, wait, don't do it. No, just go 5th.
Okay, right. Well, my fifth is Smith Rowe. I think he's a really good signing, really good fit for Fulham. He's gone into that team seamlessly for a pretty good price as well, 30 million euros. Performing well, young. I think could be there for a number of years and perform really well. I really like him, 5th place.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Consider of all the players I've got left, Smith Rowe is the lowest of those lists. I think I originally had him in 7th, but he's made his way into 5th place. I do think though, 5 goals and 2 assists. It feels like he scored more or been involved in more. I think obviously he had 3 returns in his first 5 weeks, first 5 game weeks for Fulham, and then everyone was like, oh okay, yeah, he's going to be this type of player. We were really excited about how Fulham were doing. I think, yeah, he definitely levelled up their midfield, which is weird to say considering they lost Palini in the summer. It almost feels an eon ago with lost Palini, and they haven't even blinked really, competing for Europe. And yeah, I agree with you. I think he should arguably be in the England squad, but just there's so many attacking talent in that England squad, it's so hard for anyone to get into it at the moment. But yeah, I agree with you. Emil Smith Rowe in 5th, arguably one of our more easier ones to place.
Nice. Who was your next lowest then? Let's go for you next.
I think my next lowest would have to be Omar Mamouche of Manchester City. Even though I love him, Manchester City paid 63 million for him in total. And yeah, he's played 10 matches in all competitions for them, got 4 goals, but 3 of those were a hat-trick against Newcastle, and Newcastle played very badly in that game. They left him a lot of space. Obviously, his versatility helps. The reason why I have him lower is because I think a bit like Alvarez, he's going to be playing a lot of matches. You look at matches played and he'll be playing 40 plus, but how many of those will be starts? I think that's the issue, and I think that's why I have to have him in 4th compared to the other players who I think are going to be starting week in, week out, being crucial players for their respective side, and arguably going to be game changers. Mamouche is going to be a game changer, but in a different way for what is already a juggernaut and an amazing Manchester City side. So, yeah, that's why I had him in 4th. Where did you have him?
Yeah, I had him in 2nd in my list. I think mainly just for the quality that he has. He seems to be able to do everything in an attacking sense exceptionally well. When they sold Alvarez for 95 and bought Mamouche for 70. I think when you think of obviously how much money they've made and has that quality of player dipped really that much, if any at all, I think he's superb and he is a complete Julian Alvarez replacement. But I do get 100% get what you mean. Maybe not going to play in his ideal position, which I think is probably off the left. I think actually is where maybe I could really see him thrive. Not in a Guardiola system where they're pure wingers, but sort of an outside forward. I think he could do so well. But is he going to play in that role? Probably not. Is he going to play every game? Again, probably not. So because these last 4 players that we're yet to pick, I think are all absolutely fantastic signings. So I'd be open to some wiggle room here for sure.
Okay, I had Evan Nielsen in 3rd did you have him in fourth?
I did. I did have Evan Nilsson in fourth, which I think is so harsh because he has been a complete, again, like Marmoush with Julian Alvarez. I think Evan Nilsson has been a complete Dominic Solanke replacement. And I think even brings better quality in some other areas. He has been so good. I really, really like watching him play. He's been brilliant, and so Bournemouth this year. Yeah, so he was in fourth for me.
I agree with you. I think that Evan Nielsen is a fantastic signing for Bournemouth, and I think that, like you said, they needed a Dominic Solanke replacement, and arguably maybe they have a better player than Evan Nielsen. I think what did they end up paying? 40.2 million in total, and they made a profit of like 25 million on Solanke from that deal. Considering the fact that I think that Bournemouth 25, I think he's going to be there for a while, and if not, they're going to be demanding an astronomical fee. I I think with Mamouche, with Savinho and Doku either side, they're definitely going to be the future, or maybe they're not. We're going to have to wait and see. But how often is Mamouche going to start? I would push Trevor Nielsen in third and Mamouche in fourth. I'll be honest, and it just sounds crazy.
No, I'm happy to go for that. I think it's yeah. Let's put Man City down a bit. They've got money to splash the cash. Bournemouth have gone out and done a really sensible signing and made some money in terms of selling Solanke as well. So yeah, I'm happy to go for that. Let's go Marmoush fourth, Evan Nilsson third, and that leaves our top two left. That's all.
Yeah, and I'm assuming you've gone for Elliot Anderson in second.
I have. Well, he was third on my list, but yeah, in terms of players left, Anderson was second for me. Again, there's absolutely no discredit not putting him top. He really could be first in a list. I think he has been superb, and I think, especially when he was signed, it felt like a bit of a strange signing. He was obviously so highly regarded at Newcastle as a brilliant youngster, but we hadn't really seen too much of him at all. Nottingham Forest go out and spend 40 million euros on him. Again, we're not sure if he's really going to get any game time. He has gone into that Nottingham Forest team, been one of their best players of the season, been one of the league's best player of the season, and absolutely superb. And yeah, he is going to have a fantastic future ahead of him, no doubt, considering how young he is and how good he already is. It's crazy. So yeah, I did have him in second, but superb signing.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, mate. Part of that whole PSR transfers with Newcastle, Forest, Villa, and a couple of others. I think he's very unlucky not to be in the England squad at the moment. The only Premier League game he's missed was a 3-0 loss away to Arsenal, which maybe highlighted the fact that how important he is to the side. And I think that defensively, offensively, he's great, and he's still only 22. Imagine if Newcastle were able to keep Bruno Guimaraes, Joe Linton, Tonali, and then Elliot Anderson as well on the wings. What a phenomenal midfield that would be. But I'm not sure Newcastle need to worry, because according to myself and Toby, they have the best signing of the season so far in 20-year-old Lewis Hall. Yes, he was initially at loan at Newcastle last season, but Newcastle had to pay the money for Chelsea this summer. It turns out to be £35 million in total, and honestly, it looks like a bit of a bargain, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's been the best left back in the league this season, I think, by a pretty fair distance. Was probably nailed on to be England's left back for the next few years and into the World Cup. Apart from that injury, has just come at such a frustrating time for himself, for England fans, and for Newcastle fans. Really bad timing, but again, I think he is going to be that England left back for the next decade. I really do think he's that good. He can invert, he can overlap, he could genuinely play midfield or on the wing as well. I think he is, again, one of those players who just does everything so well. So yeah, for 30 million, and again, a few question marks maybe about that signing of, was it a bit of an overspend? We haven't really seen much of Lewis Hall, but yeah, I think he's superb, so good.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think maybe even arguably give him a 10-year contract right now, and he's Newcastle's forever. I mean, honestly, he's such a good player, and if a team wants him, at least 60 million, he is absolutely phenomenal and deserves his price tag, and deserves his place at the top of our list. I think more for our sake than the viewers at this point. I think we should probably run through the list. So I'm going to run through it. Correct me if I'm wrong at any point. But starting in 20th, we have Oliver Skip. In 19th, Igor Thiago. In 18th, Eddie Nketiah. In 17th, Jaden Philogene. In 16th, Taylor Howard-Bellis. In 15th, Federico Chiesa. In 14th, Ricardo Calafiori. In 13th, Jake O'Brien. In 12th, Pedro Neto. In 11th, Dominic Solanke. In 10th, Lenny Yoro. In 9th, Andre. In 8th, Maximilian Kilman. In 7th, Amadou Onana. In 6th, Jorginho Rutter. In 5th, Emil Smith-Rowe. In 4th, Omar Mamouche. In 3rd, Evan Nielsen. In 2nd, Elliot Anderson. And 1st, Lewis Hall. Let us know if you agree with us or disagree with us in the comments below, considering the fact that me and Toby, I guess if neither of us are happy, then that probably means that the list turned out okay.
When you read that out, you know what I was thinking? I was thinking I am actually pretty happy with that. I think that's come out quite well. I after all of the moaning and the complaining throughout and how much we hated doing it, I don't think it's bad. I would give if you had to put our list on a list of lists, it would be somewhere in the middle. It's not bad.
No, it's not bad. I think probably both of our initial lists were probably a bit off, and then we've come to a nice happy medium, or at least I hope so. It's not one I'm going to be posting online and asking other people for feedback. It's one that I'm going to be trying to hide and keep away from everyone else, I'll be honest. But I suppose with that being said, we should probably move on to the quiz then, shouldn't we?
Yeah, let's get into it. Let's get all that list debate out the way and get into some fun with another round of Squad Guesser. So, Mev, would you like to go first or second?
I think it's your turn to go first this week, so I'll go second, and I'll give you yours.
Nice. Yeah, let's jump straight into it, mate.
Sure. So, you are looking at a 4-4-2 formation. It is a club side, so I'm giving you the nationalities. And up first, you have the left back, who is English.
Classic. Okay, so at least we know it's probably an English team. It could be Ashley Cole potentially, but I don't know, and I'm not going to use one of my three guesses, and I am just going to ask for another player, please.
Okay, your second player is the left central midfielder, who is Spanish.
Spanish. Okay, I'm definitely leaning towards that being Ashley Cole. Maybe this being Fabregas. Trying to think of big Arsenal games. I'm gonna spin again. Another random player, please, Mev.
Sure. Your third player is the goalkeeper, who is German.
This has surely got to be Arsenal with Lehmann in goal. I don't know what game this would be for Arsenal though. There was the Champions League final. I know I gave that to you, but you haven't given that to me. Is it worth a punt? It would have been Lehmann. It would have been Cole. Probably would have been Fabregas in 2006. Could it be... Are there any other games around then? I'm going to go for one more spin before I guess, please.
Okay, your fourth player is the right back, and they're Ivorian.
Okay, this is definitely a Boué. I think this must be the Champions League final. I'm going to go for the Arsenal Champions League final in 2006, please, Mev.
Mate, I'm so sorry. I forgot you gave it to me already. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Hey, I'm not complaining. I just got 11, 10, 9, 8 points there, if that is what it was. So yeah, I'm not complaining about that one bit, mate.
Oh, God, shows how much I pay attention. And as soon as the quiz is done, I'm like, right, put that quiz to the back of my mind.
Well, that's. I probably should have got that quicker than 8, to be fair, considering the fact I knew the exact lineup. But yeah, we'll certainly take that. Love a bit of a Boué as well.
Yeah, maybe that's why I was like, oh, I'm really drawn to that team. Okay. Oh, yeah, sorry, mate. Well.
No, not at all.
Yeah, well, I guess it's my turn then. Yeah. Oh, God, I guess I'm ready.
It certainly is. Yes, this is a club game. Mm-hmm. It is a 4-3-3. And your first player is number 7, which is one of the midfielders, the left-sided midfielder, and it is Welsh.
A Welsh central midfielder. My mind immediately goes to Joe Allen. But what game would it be? I've got no idea. I'm going to not waste anyone's time and ask if we can spin again, please.
Yep, so your next player is number 4, which is the left-sided centre-back, who is French.
See, even more I now think Joe Allen with Mamadou Sakho at left centre back for Liverpool. But I'm not certain, and I'm trying to think of other Welsh centre midfielders, so I'm going to ask to spin again.
Okay, well, your other one is your right-sided centre-back, who is Slovakian.
Right, okay. So it's definitely Modest Skirto, it's definitely Mamadou Sakho, and it's definitely Joe Allen. What side? So Brendan Rodgers signed Joe Allen for Liverpool in 12-13. We didn't do well. Was this the Europa League? Okay, I'm gonna go for a guess, and I'm gonna say, is this the starting 11 in the Europa League when Liverpool got knocked out to Zenit Petersburg?
It is not, unfortunately.
Okay.
I will spin again, and I am going to give you a clue with this player as well, because I'll just give you a little clue as well. So your next player is number 6, which is the defensive midfielder, who is Brazilian. And I will say that this game is not a final.
Well, we didn't get to any final, so that clue is useless.
Okay, it is not a knockout game.
Okay, so this is a league game. Wait, could this have?
It's still a very famous game though.
For God's sake, is it? It could very much be 13-14. Why was I thinking of just 12-13? Right, it could be 13-14. If Joe Allen is playing, Jordan Henderson is out because he's suspended for picking a red card against Manchester City. So, it is either... Yeah, hang on. No, but Gerrard will be playing. But if Lucas is defensive, Brazilian is Lucas. But if Gerrard's playing, he's playing right centre midfield instead of Henderson. So we're missing 2 players in this side. But also, if it's a 4-3-3, where the hell is Daniel Sturridge? Oh, was he injured? Is it Sterling out on the wide with Gerrard right centre midfield? What game is this? Right. Henderson was playing Man City. It might be the Chelsea game. Was Sturridge? Okay. The Liverpool in 13-14 at home when they lost 2-0 to Chelsea.
Absolutely smashed it, mate. Yeah, that is 8 points, and that is a very good 8 points because that is a tough game, I think. And yeah, you literally got that spot on. Gerrard was the other midfielder, Sterling on the wing, Suarez up front, and Coutinho on the left wing. And then you had Flanagan, Johnson fullbacks, and Mignolet in goal. But yeah, smashed it, mate. Because there was a few floating around there. Could have been the Crystal Ball game, could have been the Man City game, like you said. But yeah, spot on. It was the Gerrard slip game in April 2014.
Yes, thank you very much for that, mate. Reminded me again. That was the first.
Just with the title race running up as well, Mev. It's not sealed this season either. You know, stranger things could happen.
That was actually the last game of football that I cried to in a sad way. I have cried at full matches since. I am not ashamed to admit it, but they've been positive because they've been happy tears. That was the last sad tears that I've shed. So yeah, I don't know why I said that.
Well, I'm sorry to bring that. I'm sorry to bring that back up, Mev. 11 years later.
No, it's fine.
I'm sure you're over it now with Liverpool's many trophies.
Yeah, it was just Willian running through on goal after Iago Aspas's stupid corner kick, and then he just passed it to Torres, and then I just turned off the TV. I didn't even wait to see the celebration until the end. Yeah. I think probably a very fitting way to end the podcast, if I'm being completely honest. But there we have it. Let us know, everyone, what you did in terms of the scores for the quiz, and let us know also what you think you would rank your players from 1 to 20 of the signings of this season. I think that's been a lot. So I think I'll just end it there, and we'll see you all in the next one.